Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to another episode of the Lab Podcast. This is episode number 45. It's crazy to think that we have made 45 episodes of this
Heck
podcast
yeah.
at this time. And let's see where we can keep going. Can we make it to 100? Can we make it to 200? What do you think, Kel?
I think we have a pretty good chance. And then like at 52, it means we did it. We've been doing these for a year,
That's true,
essentially.
because we've done it. We've done it every week since we started. So
Yeah.
that
I think
is
we've only
that is
officially
accurate.
missed 1 week
I don't
ever.
even think we missed the week. We just had a delayed episode.
Oh,
So
yeah. Well, let's see.
yeah. Every week we have put one up, even if it was delayed. We got one up.
We got
So
it up eventually.
just like
That's
this
what she
week,
said.
we may struggle sometimes, but we always get it up. Just a little performance anxiety. It's no big
Yeah,
deal.
that's
But
all. That's all. We're just a little shy.
yeah. So yeah, and speaking of, before we go any further, the lab community is live and is ready for you to join. It is a membership, so you get all the fitness, health resources you absolutely need to reach your fitness and health goals. And it has, private Facebook community. We got workouts for you, nutrition guides, macro calculators. You can come in and ask us questions. It's basically like group coaching, I guess you could say. So if you are interested, go to www.yourfitlab.com. All the links will also be in the description. But now, Kel, what's up? How's it going?
Hey, it's pretty good. Sorry if you can hear that. My rice timer just went off. It's been pretty good. I have two dogs. One of my dogs went into surgery yesterday. I was very nervous. He had a mass removed, a fatty tumor, and then it weighed 1.5 pounds, which is crazy.
Oh,
It's
shit.
about the size of a football on his ribs. Um, so he is out of surgery and recovering on the couch as we speak. So yeah, that's kind of all I remember because I was really stressed out yesterday.
Uh, how long was the surgery? How long did it last?
I dropped him off at 8 a.m. and I picked him up at 6:10. But he wasn't in surgery that whole time. But it was a long one. But he's doing better, so I'm happy.
That's
But
good.
yeah, other than that, kind of just grinding. Went on a hike on this past weekend, but that's about it. How are you doing?
Pretty good. I finally found like a good orthopedic doctor, sports medicine guy,
Hell yeah.
for my knee. And I mean, it doesn't really improve the situation quite yet, but kind of, just because I trust him. He's very thorough. I can tell he actually cares about his patients, and he's been able to get me in like within days,
Oh,
because he's just way more efficient. He does Zoom visits and like in office, but I think because he does both and he kind of like triages people, like if you don't need to come in, then you don't need to come in. But so it's just like he seems to have much more efficient operations, better office staff, but also like he's sports doc, so he understands sense of urgency as well. So um, I most recently got a CT scan to make sure that my high tibial osteotomy was healed okay, and that was looked good. So the good news is that this guy can help me, because if it wasn't healed, he'd have to send me to someone else, because he's like, I don't do these things. So, but now that we know that's okay, he can help me. But with my patella tendon, uh, it's very funny because the last guy I went to, like, I swear to God, he was allergic to actually reading my chart. It was insane, and I felt very crazy because this guy had come recommended to me, and I was like, "What is wrong with me at this point?" But I don't know how this guy doesn't seem very thorough. He won't read my chart. He won't look at my MRI. It was bizarre. So, the last guy did not even really look at my MRI or go through any of my past medical history. And he was just like, you got tendonitis. And I'm like, I don't think so. Like, yes, that's how it started for sure. So I went to this other guy. He did an ultrasound on my knee as well because he wanted to see if PRP is even an option for me, because if it's too big, then PRP is not an option. And the last doctor recommended PRP, and quoted me like $3,000 for those PRP shots. So this doctor, first of all, I asked him about PRP. Unfortunately, he thinks that my tear is too big for it to be, to work for me. But he only charges $500 per shot. So that's like half the price I was originally quoted. So he does think that stem cell would be a better option for me, but that's $3,500. So insurance doesn't pay that. So it's just about the same, except for I would have got PRP and paid that much and not have
Not
actually worked.
worked.
So stem cell or surgery is my option. Insurance covers surgery, which is really fucking weird, but it does not cover stem cell. But I'm gonna do my best to wait to do anything until I compete next time. I'm shooting to compete in November of 2023. So I was like, can I wait? Like, what would be bad if I wait? They're like, is that a bad idea? He's like, well, no. He's like, it'd be a bad idea if it ruptured, but you can wait if you want. So essentially, from now until I compete, I just have to be careful that I don't rupture it. He said I could do like a shot of PRP just to help me with pain, to kind of get me through until the competition. So that's kind of new. And I was like, how far are you booking out? Like, if I need something, he's just like, oh, just, message the office. We can get you in pretty quickly. So it's night and day. The last guy, I had to wait months just to see. Even if he did nothing, it'd be like a 10-minute visit where he wouldn't even look at my charts, my images, nothing like that. So this guy, he spends all the time you need. He lets you ask all the questions, and he's just like, he knows what he's doing with PRP and all that stuff. Like, he's written, he's done research, written papers and stuff like that on it. So I obviously trust him more. So that's kind of the new development with the knee
That's
that no one
good.
asked for. But I'm just happy because I feel like if I hurt myself, I have like a go-to doctor, like you never know, it could be a shoulder or a knee. And I have had some shoulder issues, but my biggest anxiety is that if I hurt something, like, it's going to be forever for me to even be seen. And then, it's been, it's over a year since I first went to the doctor for my knee and nothing has been done. So it's kind of this weird anxiety of being like, what if I hurt something else? And then I'm really fucked. So it's just nice to, have a doctor that I know I can get into fairly quickly and who knows what he's doing, and can support me to like getting back on stage with little things, like little game plans if it's like a pain issue, little things, injections, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like just feeling more at ease and more excited and happy to pursue competing again, hopefully in November, depending if I'm able to stay healthy and put on size. And then my phone is ringing, so it's always fun when like your phone rings and then like completely cuts out all your audio. It's great. Sorry, but I'll stop talking. I'm just really excited. I'm just happy I found a doctor.
That's so dope.
I don't have to
I'm
worry
happy
about
for you too, man, because that sucks ass, and I just shouldn't be like that. It's so frustrating.
Yeah, I told him like, because he was like, this is probably the worst tear I've seen without a complete rupture. So I was like, okay, so it's a little concerning because the last doctor was like, it's not torn, it's just like got some bad tissue. And he was like, it's not dangerous though. So anytime I would do something that's painful, I just tell myself, it's not dangerous, it's not dangerous, it's not dangerous. And this guy's like, no, it's dangerous.
It's dangerous.
Yeah, so I'm
Actually,
like, oh,
that's wrong.
great. Yeah, great. This whole time I've been telling myself the pain's not dangerous, and here I'm probably just rupturing my
Fucking
shit.
it up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh,
He looked
gross.
at me like he literally asked me who the doctor was, and he shook his head. So, yeah, that was fun. I'm
I
like,
wonder
thank
if
you
he
for making
knows
me feel
him.
less crazy. He said he didn't, which was surprising. But maybe that's a good thing. So,
uh,
get your
that's
second opinions, folks. It's worth it.
uh, no kidding. Damn, that sucks.
You know.
Yeah, I don't know. So should we hop
So,
into some questions?
yeah. So now, if anyone's still listening after that snooze fest,
Oh, shush.
we we have some topic suggestions from our lab community. So there's a lot of more what seem like kind of short, quick questions. So we decided to put them all into like a Q&A style podcast for you all. And, another reason to join the lab, you can give us some topic suggestions. I mean, you can always give us topic suggestions, but of course, our community has a little bit more weight into what we will actually, cover. So, hey, if you want some more weight, you want to vote on what we do with the podcast, come join the community. But
Yeah,
yeah,
and
should be
as
good.
we've said before, joining the community early does give you like a little bit of say in the community that we build. Like, so yeah, me and Cody are headed it up, but and leading the charge. But the community is gonna have hopefully a life of its own one day, and so you get to help in that growth.
Yep,
So join.
yep. You get to be with us while we evolve things. It's the most exciting part. So come and join us. But should we dive into the
Let's do it.
questions slash
Let's do it.
topics that weren't really questions? But okay, let's go with. So these ones are kind of like trans specific topics. So let's see. They put with FTM, does fat loss or gain follow more of a female pattern depending on how long prior to taking testosterone? So I guess what they're saying is probably does the fat redistribution like
Change.
I don't know change with time? Like the more you're on T, the more it will distribute more male like is what I'm assuming they're asking.
Yeah.
Am I yes. In short,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. Yes, it does. I do think though that sometimes people think of tea as more of a wonder drug than it is when it comes to fitness, especially the dose that trans people are put on. It's a low dose tea kind of just gets you to the regular levels of a regular a cisgender male. Um, so I've been talking to a lot of pre-T folks who are really excited about getting on T and how it can affect their fitness journey. And a lot of people, I think, just think it's going to be a magic thing. But really what the changes that you're going to see, fat loss or gain, are always going to be determinant on how much effort you put in, and that you're doing the right thing and focusing on the right things to support those goals, more so than the T doing a lot of effect. Would you
Yeah.
agree with that, Cody?
Yeah, and I think that testosterone does have an effect on how your body stores fat. Like for example, pre-T, you're more likely to store the fat in like your hips, legs, kind of thing. But then when you start T, it's not so much stored in your hips. It's got a more male pattern, so maybe more like in your belly, your back, your love handle area. So that comes with time, but it's not instantaneous. It takes a while for your body to really like recomp. I think it took me at least the first full year. I was still storing fat in more of like a female pattern. I think it took until at least like I think 2 years until it really started to not have a female, like if I gained weight, it wouldn't just go straight to my hips or whatever. It would distribute differently. And also like I think I stored a lot more fat in my legs pre-T, and now that's definitely like not. I mean, I still, of course, everyone stores fat in their legs, but definitely not like I used to. So with time, yeah, it will naturally shift your fat, like, but you can speed up the process with diet and exercise because if you're losing fat, it's going to be taking fat from those areas that are normally a more female pattern. So, yeah, diet and exercise are still going to be the foundation of whatever progress you see after you start T. But I mean, like, eventually, let's say like 10 years down the road, you don't change anything. You might just end up with like a beer belly or something, you know? So, it might still switch over to the more male pattern, but it's still not going to probably be what you want.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people do see a lot of fat gain when they're on T, just because your appetite changes a lot.
Yeah.
I know I was like starving all the time, and when that happens, plus the redistribution of fat, a lot of people I think that it made them gain a ton of weight, and I think some of that has to do with not recognizing what you're eating and it all going to different spots than you're used to. So just keep that in mind as well.
Yeah, for sure. And some of it is water too. It's like I feel like definitely the first 6 months, you just gain so much like water weight in your face. Like your face gets so
Yeah.
puffy, and it's awful. Like if I look back at pictures of myself like 6 months on T, and I'm like, ugh, my fucking face. Like just you see things. You don't really notice it as much during, but afterwards, you're like, wow, I was
Yeah.
retaining quite a bit of water. So that's another contributing factor to some weight gain. But yeah, it's not all like let's say you gain 20 pounds in 3 months, and you're not working out. That's not muscle. That's
Yeah.
that's most likely going to be more fat. Maybe a little bit of muscle, but not much if you're not working out. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what the next one is. Oh yeah. Are there any nutritional differences depending on how long one has been on testosterone? What do you think, Cal?
So I would say if you're on hormones, make sure you're following like the male um, guidelines with calories and all that jazz. I would say once your levels are steady, though, it's gonna be what it is.
Yeah.
So just
Yeah.
because as trans men we have a very steady amount of testosterone in our body, if you're doing your shots or hormone replacement on a regular schedule, like like doctors prescribe, you're going to even out pretty quickly and then kind of just stay.
Yeah.
And you should be getting your
Yeah.
levels checked. So, because that's the goal.
Yeah. And I think one of the other common questions I get is when should I start going by, like the male macro setting, how like on MyFitnessPal it's male or female, and we're like, when should I start choosing male there? And honestly, I always just say when you start seeing changes. So, you kind of think of it in a sense like let's say it's like if you see like a female bodybuilder, and let's say they're doing a cycle of testosterone, they're going to be eating more calories because the testosterone, like it does up your metabolism because you are building muscle. You're going to break it down and you're going to build it up quicker than before you started testosterone. So, it does raise up the metabolism a bit. And I think if, as long as you're working out, you are going to use those calories for muscle building. Your body's changing. You're going through a second puberty. So I think it's wise that, you might as well just, even if it is a little bit of a surplus, you're going to use it. It's going to even out. Pretty soon those calories will be your maintenance. So that's when I usually advise to switch over to the male calories. That sounds very weird to say. I don't know how else to put that. So, I bless you.
Thank
I
you.
was I was also thinking like no, I wasn't. Oh yeah, histos. After, I don't know if it was ironic, coincidental timing, but I feel like after I had my histo is when like my body fat distribution really changed. Uh, it was after that, it was like my hips kind of just decided to peace out. So that was nice. But I don't know if it was just a timing thing or if there was a connection, but that was my experience.
Yeah, and I haven't had a histo, and to be honest, even before I was on T, I held all of my weight in my stomach because I've always been like that.
Maybe you always had high T levels, you just didn't know
Maybe, maybe.
it. All right. Okay. Does putting on muscle mass change or differ depending on how many years on testosterone? Example, 1 year versus 5 or 10 or more. And then any other issues that come up as a trans weightlifter or bodybuilder. So I would say, yeah, I think it changes for anyone after 5 to 10 years or more, especially if you're working out, muscle maturity, be more dense, just more solid muscle in general. Because obviously, if you've been working out for 5 to 10 years, you're going to be changing that muscle, maturing that muscle. So I give that a solid yes. But what do you think, Cal?
Yeah, I agree, and like I think it's just that dense, like you were saying, that dense, like thick look. That's just muscle maturity. They talk about it all the time. If you ever listen to bodybuilding
Bodybuilding.
shows, they talk about muscle maturity, and that just tends to happen with age, age and dedication to the working out, essentially. Um,
Yeah.
so, yes.
Yeah. Can you think of any other issues that come up that would be, for a trans weightlifter or bodybuilder that we didn't kind of?
One thing I think that maybe I don't know. I don't think we've talked about it before. But maybe talk a little bit about how, like, trans people, if they want to compete in bodybuilding, we can kind of talk about why it is that they're not natural, and not just because of transphobia.
Yeah, yeah, I know that's actually probably a good one to dive into.
Do you want to start that off, or you want me to? It doesn't matter.
Go for it.
Okay. So, trans people cannot compete in natural divisions. So, in most bodybuilding, when you're talking, you have natural bodybuilders or you have open bodybuilders or enhanced bodybuilders, just meaning that they can take, or not, that they're not tested, they're not drug tested with performance enhancing drugs. And so, when you think about it, when sorry, let me back up. So that is because we take extra testosterone, essentially. So we are technically performance enhanced, and that is, and most people are like, well, why? Because we're only taking enough to come up to regular or cis male levels. Why would we be enhanced? And it's because ours are, again, constant. So RT is at the same level every week, regardless of what happens, because we take the same amount of T every week, regardless of what happens. When
Yeah.
cis guys diet down, their T levels drop a lot, which is why natural bodybuilders are singled out in a different division, essentially, because they just simply can't get as big, and it's a lot harder to get as shredded because you just feel so crappy.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, like, I think that's the biggest confusion is people think that it's just blatantly transphobia, but there actually is some things that are just not fair if we do compete with the natural guys. And as much as I wish we could, I get why we can't. Because, yeah, like we are injecting an external source of testosterone. We are in control of our levels. We don't have to worry about them completely crashing if we're like 5% body fat. And so, yeah, it's kind of unfortunate because, you know, it puts us in a weird spot as trans men in bodybuilding. And I know people are like, "Oh, but I'm natural. All I take is my prescription." But it's like I call that trans natty because like you know testosterone is still technically a performance enhancing drug, no matter if you're taking it for transition purposes or for performance enhancing purposes. Obviously, everyone who's transitioning is not taking it to get jacked. It's just to live your life. Yeah, a lot of people in the bodybuilding community mistake that, and they think that, trans people are just taking testosterone to get jacked, and it's just like, yeah, that's not the thing.
Which does
Like,
lead us back to our previous question. If you just do your hormones and expect to get jacked, you're just not going to.
no, right? Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it sucks. It's one of those things where it's like, especially I feel like as trans men, we kind of get the short end of the stick. Um, so we have to make some sacrifices in order to do what we want to do sometimes. But it is what it is.
Yeah. I think that was really the only other topic that came to mind when he was talking about trans bodybuilders or trans in fitness.
Yeah, just the unfortunate little pieces of it sometimes. Should we go to the next question?
Let's do it.
All right. So, this one's from Calvin. Thanks, Calvin. The differences in protein powders, what to look for, and what to avoid. So, yeah, let's see. So, do you want to start off?
You have your very own ambassadorship, so I'm going to let you take care of this sponsor, Mr. Sponsor.
Oh my gosh. Disclaimer,
Make
I'm
Legion
sponsored
proud.
by Legion, right? Use my code Coach Cody for 20% off. But so yeah, protein powders. There's definitely different types. So there is whey protein isolate, whey concentrate, whey hydrolysate, which is one that I feel like no one really ever hears about. Then there's casein. Then there's all the plant-based, so like pea protein, soy protein, and then rice and all those ones. There's egg protein powder. It's probably like, I know there's
That's
like
all
hemp.
the ones I know.
Yeah, all the plant-based ones,
The
whatever
plant-based-
obscure ingredients they can find. I think the biggest one is the difference between whey concentrate isolate and casein is the one that like people tend to wonder about the most. So just to I put something out here just so I can like not fuck it up. Okay. So concentrate tends to be cheaper. It's not as processed, but it does contain more lactose. So if you have like a lactose issue, if you're lactose intolerant, it's most likely going to fuck with you more than if you do an isolate. So it's just not as refined. It contains up to 80% pure protein by weight. But some products tend to run lower. So it's concentrate because it contains up to 80% of protein. But for it to be labeled isolate, it has to contain at minimum 90% protein by weight. So the isolate is generally more expensive because it's higher quality. It's also very easily digested, quickly digested, because it is also isolate. So concentrate tends to have more fat and carbs in it as well. And the isolate's basically almost just pure protein. So it's lower in calories, so it's a lot easier to consume if you're dieting, because you're not going to fuck up your macros as much with the isolate. Let's see what else. Yeah, that's about all in the differences. So if, like, for example, if you go to Trader Joe's, they have, their whey protein powders, which are very cheap, and you're like, oh, I'm buying this. This is way cheaper. On the internet, it's like $40. It's because it's whey concentrate. So, first of all, sometimes protein powders have a lot of fillers. You're not really ever sure the quality. So I would be careful about pricing and making sure that the ingredients and the protein content is legitimate. There is a website called Labdoor. So labdoor.com, you can go on there and you can look up your favorite protein powder, and it gives a rating of like they're lab tested. So the companies that are usually lab tested by Labdoor, if they have good ratings, will actually advertise that because it's like third party tested, so they know that that what you're getting in that container is actually what's on the label. So that is something I like to do. And I will say Legion is Labdoor tested and approved with a great rating on Labdoor. So you know that the quality is definitely there. I would do that with any protein powder that you want to buy, honestly.
And I want to interrupt you for 1 second to say that. So in my past life, I was working in food testing. So like I was like the third party lab in this scenario. And just so you know that our listeners know, it is a really common practice to do what's called food foraging or foraging labels and stuff like that. So swapping out ingredients that are cheaper. It's food fraud. I'm sorry, food fraud. And it's pretty common, and that's why people get testing because sometimes it's actually even profitable for the company. Like, so if like GNC was putting out a protein powder, they'll send it to their third party and to test their suppliers, because most companies the label that you're buying from is not the people who are making it. They're buying that. So it's just something to always be aware of with any kind of supplements that you're going to take. That third party testing is required sometimes, but supplements are not regulated like food is. So none of these lab tests are required by the government. These are all usually for reputable brands to keep themselves reputable.
Yeah.
Just a little aside.
Really. Yeah, no, that's really good to know, because I don't think people understand that labels are not always correct, especially with supplements. And so another thing that Labdoor will do, they also test for things like mercury and, all the shit that's not good for you. So it will, if there's any detection of that in there, it will let you know. There is some shit that can be found in supplements. So if you want to be safe, I would say always try to get a brand that is third-party tested, since they are not FDA regulated.
Yeah, I have one more short aside. When I was in school to get my degrees to be in the labs, we talked about this one case study that was about melamine. Melamine was a replacement powder that they used for protein in dog food and in baby formula. And it ended up killing like a ton of dogs because it's extremely poisonous in like higher doses. So, and it was found in baby powder or baby formula, like that dried baby formula that gets rehydrated. Because baby formula is regulated, whereas dog food isn't always. So it's, again, it does happen, and these are in like the last 20 years that it's happened before and killed people. So
it's crazy.
Again, very important.
Yeah, no, thank you. I would not like to die by protein powder. So
such a sad way to go.
Seriously, you're just trying to do the best for yourself,
Yeah.
So the plant protein powders. Personally, I always recommend pea protein, just because the verdict is, it's kind of been flip-floppy with the soy protein thing over the past years. It's like, oh, it raises your estrogen, it fucks with your hormones. Like, there's been studies, I feel like, on both ends that have both discredited each other. So I'm in the I'm unsure class with the soy shit. I know a little bit, it's not going to hurt you. I know that you'd have to eat a ton of it for it to have any impact on your hormones. But it's just one of those things that there's always different research coming out about it, and everyone seems to just be like, oh, now it's fine. And it's like, it might not be. So I like to go for pea protein because there's nothing weird going on with that.
Yeah, definitely. And soy is also in a lot of things. So like, even if you're only doing soy protein every once in a while, you're probably getting soy in a lot of other places. So, because that's one of those ingredients they put in like everything that's on the label, but no one really knows.
Yeah, it's very true. It's like if you go to any fast food joint, it's in the meat. Like, it's only like, it's not all actually meat, especially if it's McDonald's is like the patties, like they use fillers to make it cheaper, and soy is cheap as fuck. So it's a sneaky one. Just be careful. Yeah, I think that's about. So,
Did
oh,
you go over
casein.
casein?
Sorry, I did not. All right, so this is another type of protein found in cow's milk. It's typically used for making cheese, so that's fun. It has been widely used. Well, it's there's I think there's been a myth for a long time that if you have it before bedtime, it helps with building muscle, but they've kind of debunked that since, or it's inconclusive. But it's a slower digesting protein. It can cause some stomach upset for some people because of this, uh, but it's not as quick digesting as whey isolate. But this is why they say it's good at bedtime because it's slower digesting as you sleep, and then it helps you recover. Um, Apparently, it curdles in your stomach because of the acidic environment, which is why they use it to make cheese.
Can't
So
imagine those protein farts.
yeah, I can imagine the that would be the stomach upset, would be the cheesy curdling in your stomach happening. Can you imagine just farting cheese scent? Only it's not the good kind.
Oof.
I'm like, I wonder what
I
type of cheese my
think
stomach would make.
those are only for single bodybuilders only. Like,
I would like to fart some mozzarella. Could be making some cheese sticks.
oh, God.
All right, guys, that's it for today. All right, so yeah, those are your main protein powder options. Choose carefully, choose wisely, do your research. All right, should we move on to the next
Yes,
question?
let's move on.
Okay, oh, I lost my questions. Here we are. Okay. All right, this is the last one for today, and it is tips, golden rules on what to look for when choosing a gym that best satisfies person's training needs. I'd be curious to hear your thoughts about different gyms, not having certain machines or weights because they believe it's too intimidating. And I think we all know this is probably referring to a place like Planet Fitness, where they don't have barbells. They have Smith machines, but no barbells because it's a no judgment zone. And I still don't understand, like, are people judged more harshly on like benches and squat racks than they are on a Smith machine? Is that just, I don't know. I don't
Who
understand.
knows?
Because I've seen some wild videos come out of Planet Fitness.
I see. Planet Fitness is just so frustrating because it, like, their whole business is made on people, like, for not healthy people, like making it a place for not healthy people, right? Like, it tries to come across so unjudgy that it's judgy on actually getting your shit together. But on the other hand, whenever a client's like, "Oh, I only have a Planet Fitness gym membership," I'm like, "No, that is fine. That is all you really need to."
It's plenty.
And it's plenty of equipment. It's usually, unless it's in January, probably you have space. They're convenient for people who work off shifts, and they don't break the bank, so you can pay to get help on the expertise. So I love Planet Fitness for those reasons. But and the equipment is nice for what they have. Like, yes, they don't have barbells, but they keep their stuff pretty nice. It's always pretty clean. I have no beef with Planet Fitness on those fronts. But yeah, not having barbells does suck.
Yeah. It's like, I am also pro Planet Fitness in that, it's funny because a lot of clients will be like, I just have a Planet Fitness membership. And it's like, don't worry, man. Like, that's fine. That's way better and preferable over home workouts. If you have home workouts, I'm going to be like, can you please go to Planet Fitness? So in the grand scheme of things, you have everything you need there. So you don't think that you can't get anywhere because you only have access to Planet Fitness. It's plenty. I encourage it.
Plenty of stuff.
The only thing I have a beef with is their business model, just because it doesn't make sense. The no judgment zone thing definitely doesn't make sense if you have a lunk alarm. So if you drop your weight too loud, the alarm goes off and everybody stares at you. I'm pretty sure that is the definition of shame and judgment, right? Yeah. So we're creating this environment that just kind of encourages shaming while also pretending not to be judgmental. But also, any video I ever see on Instagram or whatever where they're, filming someone doing something crazy, it's always in a Planet Fitness. So obviously
100%.
it's not a no judgment zone if everyone in there is literally judging you. So it's really no different than any other gym, but maybe worse. I don't know.
I think it's
Because
worse
yeah,
because people are policing it on their
they
own.
are. Yes, it's very true. There's a lot of self-policing going on, and it's an interesting concept, but I know they also do like pizza days and stuff like that, or and I don't have any because balance, moderation, that sort of thing. I think they're just trying to encourage and like have people. It's like for real people, not just meatheads and stuff like that. They don't allow people to wear stringers. I think there's a dress code like that is more
Yeah.
intense than most. You can't bring gallon water bottle jugs into there, which I find very ridiculous. It's like it's not just bodybuilders that need to drink a lot of water. Like everyone should be able to bring whatever size water bottle they want. I find some of the rules to be so petty and so judgmental because they're literally just stereotyping bodybuilders. No
Well, okay,
stringers, no gallon
and for
water
the other
bottles.
thing, and not dropping weights, I'm sorry, but dropping weights is sometimes necessary. Like if you
It
have to
is.
like bail or if you're really going intense, like and so for me, whenever I do dumbbell bench press, I always drop the weights. Like I get them down to my chest and then I drop them off my side because trying to sit up with them, I don't want to hurt my back. And trying to
Yeah.
sit up and like balance the weights sometimes makes me nervous. So I drop the weights on my sides. And I'm sorry, that is the safest way to get up in my opinion from that. I don't it drives me nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, or even if you just accidentally drop something, it
Right.
happens a lot. So to like be judged and shamed for dropping something, the alarm going off, I would feel so embarrassed. I would never go back. Like I
Yeah.
don't they really
There
they should get rid of the alarm. Like 2023, Planet Fitness gets rid of the lunk alarm, like change, do something.
Planet Fitness is actually not judgy.
Wear what you want.
Well, okay, and then I have one more beef with Planet Fitness in the stringer thing. So, and this is gonna make me sound bad, but I don't care. Um, I get annoyed when they police what guys wear shirt wise, so anti stringer or whatever, but girls can come up in just a sports bra,
That's
and
true.
that's fine, and that is not
Yeah.
fair. I'm sorry.
That's true. It's not that I didn't even think about that. That is very true. Why?
Because especially now that like the matching set thing is popular,
Hmm.
um, I would say most girl like not most, but like a lot of girls at the gym, and I'm so happy that they feel empowered for that, and I am fine with it. Don't get me wrong, but like then I should be able to roll in my stringer. Not that I have any
Hmm.
because they don't fit anymore, but still.
We got to get you some new stringers. It sounds like. But yeah, it's ridiculous. So just little tiny weird rules like that are the thing that I have beef with. But I don't have a problem. Anyone who has a Planet Fitness membership, it's plenty. It's very much so enough to hit your goals.
Absolutely.
But I would say, if you have options of gyms, I would say I prefer locally owned over chain gyms, which sounds kind of weird because I do go to a Gold's gym, but it's different in that it's actually not part of the chain. Our specifically one is privately owned, so they do their own thing. They're different than like all the other chain of Golds, and you could tell, they really care about their equipment. They're constantly getting new stuff, updating things. It's very clean. I haven't been to any other chain Golds, but I haven't always heard the greatest things. Uh, but yeah, more like smaller private gyms, more personable, better community, better vibes, probably better rates usually. So I always am like, if you have a private, not, big chain gym, also they don't tend to sell you personal training or try to like, lure you into some plan that you don't want, or like 20 sessions with our personal trainers, and you're like, I didn't ask for that. So yeah, that would be my tip.
Yeah, my thing is always just to find the gym that you're comfortable in. Um, I think whatever gym you can sustainably go to is the gym for you. Like it you can figure out programming. I mean, it's nice to have barbells and benches. If you like to do things where you are dynamic or moving around, like walking lunges and stuff, you want to have a gym that has some space that doesn't have a machine on it. Um, Also, like make sure that they're like you can get there quick enough. So, or not quick enough, but like to the point where that isn't a hurdle for you to get to the gym, especially like hours, like if all those things matter, costs. I go to a local gym. I like it the best. I've always gone to a local gym, not like a chain. So like, I think I was had a lifestyles fitness, which was an old chain that I think got bought out by LA Fitness. I went for like a year when I was like 22, and I was only doing the elliptical. But I
Oh
don't think
man,
I've gone to a chain other than Planet Fitness or a local gym since then. So
nice. Yeah, I've gone to like a Cow Fit, which isn't like a big chain, but it is in just my part of California. Um, I think one thing that I forgot to mention is one thing I always look for at a gym. There's a few things, but first thing I look at is the dumbbell section. How big is it and how many benches are there? Because dumbbells are usually a big part of my program, bodybuilding programs in general. So if the dumbbell section is tiny and you can hardly ever get to the dumbbells, it's going to be a problem. I've been to gyms previously where if it was anywhere decently crowded, it was like impossible to actually use the dumbbells or be in the dumbbell section, and that is an issue. So I would say, you know, it might be a deciding factor if you have options between gyms to look at their dumbbell sections. How many benches do they have? How many, rows of weights, racks? Are there two sets of each dumbbell? Just one because you're going to be like waiting or sharing with somebody, or you're going to be trying to wait till someone gets off a bench if there's not enough. Like the gym I'm at currently, I think is probably the biggest dumbbell section of the gym I've ever attended, and it gets crowded in there, but the amount of frustration that you feel in comparison to having it being crowded in a smaller gym with a small dumbbell section is exponentially lower. You can usually work in, no matter how crowded it is. So, just being aware of the layout and knowing yourself, like if you are too intimidated and you're going to avoid the dumbbell section because it's like always the big guys on the two benches and you don't want to share it. Just, yeah, be aware of that. Take that into consideration. That is something as a socially anxious person, I'm always thinking about those types of things. So, yeah.
I thought of a couple more things. So first off, I would recommend anybody who is looking for a gym to get either a day pass, a week pass, or like a 1 month thing before you commit to a longer contract. Just to make sure you are actually going to be okay with the vibes when you go in your normal time. Some gyms let you do like a free day, but always just ask. It never hurts. Um, Also, and the reason I say that is because I used to go to this gym that I loved, and then I had to switch times that I worked out. So like I went from I think I was working out like 4 to working out at like 6 p.m. And when I went there at 6, that was when all the power lifters went. And it was like they had like a big group of them. I don't know if anybody knows who Joe Sullivan is. He used to work out at that time. And he's very big in the powerlifting community, and I hated it because I am very easily intimidated by that group of people, and will not share. And but they also take really, really long rest periods, so it would take me forever to get my workout in because I'd be waiting on them, and to do a couple lifts would take forever because they have really long rest periods, which is totally fine because that's the sport. But like, it's just another thing to think about when you're going to a gym.
Yeah, for sure. And generally, I don't. I'll look around at the machines, but it's not a deciding factor. Machines aren't usually what sways my choice of gym because they generally do have similar options, or there's always something that's a good sub to maybe something I wanted or wish they had. Trying to think if there's like a piece of machinery where I'm like, oh, they don't have this. I'm definitely not signing up here because there's usually always something else you could do. So I look at how many squat racks are there and how big is the dumbbell section. Those are the two that are like, my
The
priority.
I switched to gym once because they didn't have stairs, like a stairmaster.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Wow,
Yeah. I I
that's
did
crazy.
switch because I was like,
Huh.
I only do my cardio on the stairs essentially, so that ain't gonna fly.
Yeah, no, that's really weird. You'd think basically all gyms would have a stairmaster by this point.
Yeah, no. Some of the
Well,
small ones don't, or they're always broken.
hmm, lame. Another thing I'd say to look at with a gym is cleanliness. That's always going to tell you, um, I feel like a lot. It'll tell you a lot how much the owner cares. If they're going to maintain their equipment. Some gyms, they don't give a fuck, and something breaks and they just leave it broken forever. And that really sucks because then you can't use it. So it's like, I think, my previous gym, the leg extension kept breaking and it was broken just forever, I feel like. Uh, so it's in order to avoid those situations, I would say definitely check out the cleanliness and the upkeep of the machines. Um, you know, the bathroom situation, locker rooms. If you're intimidated by like if you want a gender neutral bathroom, that obviously would be on the priority list. If you're like, I'm not going to the gym because I can't go into the bathroom, then you're gonna want to look for a gym with a gender neutral option. So yeah, just some things to look out for when choosing a gym, and overall, check out the vibe. I do think most gyms also they do like a free week pass, um, but I don't know anymore. Inflation, they're probably like, no, we're charging you $40 for the day, like Alpha Land. So, um,
I know my gym just got rid of their free day trial, so I do think a lot of
uh,
people are getting rid of that, the free things, which sucks. But
I know, no more free things. I mean, nothing's free, but um, yeah. So I think
oh,
that's it.
and I just thought of a podcast idea, and
Huh?
we should go over home equipment one day. Like,
Yes, that is smart because you gotta have if you're planning to work out at home, please have equipment that is gonna be proper. We could probably just talk about this all in a different episode, but I have so many things I could say. I'm not gonna say them because yeah, we'll save
we'll
it.
save it. Well, I
Yeah.
think we got a lot of questions answered. Again, if you ever have topics or questions, if you're in the lab community, go ahead and ask them right away, and we'll get them answered for you right on the spot. If you're not in the lab community, send them to us, and we'll put them in a Q&A podcast, or if it's a topic for a whole podcast, we can maybe devote a whole episode to it.
Yeah. Yep.
Are you ready for the power talk, or did you have anything else?
I am ready. Nope. Let's hear
Cool.
it.
So with this week, we're getting towards the end of January, and I know a lot of people are probably hitting their first bumps along their fitness resolutions probably about now, or are going to be coming up to it soon. So I have a couple quotes about adversity, and I again couldn't pick one, so I have two. Sorry. So the first one from today is from Stephen Covey. Covey. Sorry, I'm really not great at reading aloud. So his quote is, "Just as we develop our physical muscles through overcoming opposition, such as lifting weights, we develop our character muscles by overcoming challenges and adversity." And I Actually, I'm just gonna stick with this one. I'll save the next one. Um, but I just kind of wanted to. This is a really good way to think about your fitness resolutions. I think is just the same as the whole point of lifting muscles and how it actually works. Is you lift something heavy, and that rips apart your muscle cells, right? And they build back stronger. That's how bodybuilding works. That's how muscle growth works when you're using resistance training. And you can kind of think of that in life. We sometimes just have to be broken apart. We have to face adversity in order to develop ourselves and get better and learn how um, to fight that next time. And I think it's just a really good way to kind of look at life. Any adversity that you come across, it's going to suck at the time. It's going to hurt for a moment. You're going to be sore afterwards, and then you're going to get better. So just take a breath, and just keep pushing, because we're going to get better regardless of what happens. So just take everything with stride. And I know that's really hard to say, to think about, or even to accept when you are going through it. But just know you will get through, and you'll be a better person because of it.
Word. Yes. That's all I got. Word. I dig it. Yes, I agree.
Cool.
So,
all right. Well,
on that
until
note,
next time, folks.
yes. Peace out.
Later.